Hey guys, my name is Nathan. So in today's video, we're gonna show how you can make any light bar strobe. Just with the simple click of a button here, you can see all those different modes, and those are pod lights in there. So let's get to it. I'll show you what I have underneath the hood and how I have everything hooked up. So this right here is gonna be the key to everything. This is your wireless controller. Pretty much what you're going to need is a power and ground going to this. I have my power and ground I have my power switched to here so that I don't have constant power running to this when I don't need it. I want longevity out of this. And then also, it's a 2-channel, so these are going to be your positive outputs, which are going to be right there. I don't have any of those hooked up. I just have negatives hooked up. Hopefully you can hear me over this traffic. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, the negatives are going to control pretty much your strobing. So I will go ahead and show you guys how I have them hooked up in the truck now. So over here, you got your fog light switch, and these are gonna control my ambers. I have my auxiliary number 4 switched to turn on. This pretty much arms the whole strobing system. So I've turned that on, and now I have access to whether if I wanna have these light bars on. It's the pod lights and the one light bar. This is the rest of the pod lights and the bottom light bar, and this isn't set up to strobe. And then these are just my amber lights. So this is upfitter switch number 2 and my fog lights on. And as you can see here, you have a single remote, your power button, and then you can change your modes. Cool thing is I can just turn or start it by strobing, and the box has memory of whatever you left it on. So if right now I went and turned off upfitter switch number 4, and then at any point I flicked it back on, it would have memory of this and it would immediately start back up in this setting. So I can have them all on just as a normal light bar if I'm driving. That bottom switch, or not the bottom switch, but switch number 1 turns these amber ones white as well and turns on my bottom light bar. So I'm going to use this guy as an example. This is just going to be one of my reverse lights. The X in the center is going to be amber, and then the outside is obviously your normal reverse lights. So on hooking this up, you have 3 wires here. There are 2 different setups that you can get. There's this one that has 2 powers and 1 ground, and then there's this little guy right here that has 2 grounds and 1 power. So for this, once it gets power, and if you connect both grounds, there's an orange and a white light in there that'll turn on. Now, if you hook up both of these grounds, or the negatives, to that strobe module, it'll click back and forth and connect the ground, and in return switching back and forth from orange and white. So there's that. This guy, however, is a lot more difficult to hook up because it has 2 powers, and the strobe module on the power outputs are just a constant. So the power doesn't strobe, just the grounds. On this guy, if you want the orange and white to be separate, you'll have to, the white's going to be red, and this is going to be the orange, and this is going to be the ground. You'll have this hook up to your module, this guy to your reverse lights, and say this guy to your blinker. So whenever you turn on the strobe module, you will either want to have some type of constant. Say if it's the reverse lights, it's only going to strobe in reverse, and then the blinker's only going to strobe if you had your running lights on, or whatever the case is. For my pod lights up front, the way I did it was, this is hooked up to the strobe module. This guy is hooked up to a designated switch, and then this one is hooked up to the designated switch. Hence why I have the orange hooked up here and the white hooked up over here, so I can differentiate and not have both the white and the orange on it together and give it a weird tint. If I had them both on together at the same time, it's not going to strobe between orange and white. if that makes sense. So yeah, guys, my preferred method for hooking up any LEDs to a strobe module is going to be the guys that have the 2 grounds and 1 positive, because the positive is just working as a constant, and the negatives are going to differentiate whether the orange or the white is on. So it's really nice with that strobe module, since there are 3 left grounds and 3 right grounds, I could hook up the 1 white ground to, say, the left side, and the 1 right ground to the right side, and put them in the same position, so like slot 1 on each side, and they're both gonna strobe opposite of each other and create their own pattern essentially out of this 1 light. This guy, I have to have a designated switch on for the orange to work, or I have to have a designated switch for the white to work. Otherwise, I cannot do both the orange and the white together, at least from my experience. I'm sure there's some guru out there that's like, oh, you're an idiot, you could just do this, or take it apart and then add another ground wire and take the positive and make it just all 1 constant so everything has power. Like, yeah, I get it, but I'm not gonna take this thing apart. I had 8 of them, so it's just going to be a huge time waste of taking all 8 of them. Actually, I would have these 2 as well, so 10. I'm not doing that. So that's how I have figured out how to do it. If you guys want a more in-depth how-to, or like how I wired them or anything, let me know. I can post a video. I just figured I'd put this video out there because it was hard to try and find anybody that had been able to make any light bar strobe. Anybody that posted anything was like, they bought something off Amazon, it was ready to strobe already. They had like a strobe kit, but they're not used as like a light bar. With this guy, I have my light bars hooked up to it. So I could flick all my switches on and control it all via this remote. So I don't have to, reach down to flick a switch on and off. If I'm on a back road and a vehicle's coming, I can click the switch on or off. It's way faster than that, and I can just have it in my hand with my brights as well. And then if I wanted to, I can make them strobe. So hope you guys found it helpful. Like and subscribe, and yeah, see you in the next one.